What's up, fellas?
What's going on? That's a new Eric, a new state of Eric here I haven't seen before.
What's up?
Whoa.
It's like midway between normal and crazy.
Normal and wildfire.
Yeah.
There we go. Well, good.
Good. Don't change a thing.
Ringo's here.
Hi, Ringalicious. Hi, Ringalicious. Oh, wrapped up and warm.
His new jammies on. Hey, Chad.
Hey, Eric.
And what episode is this?
This is episode number 98
Oh, man.
of Slappercast.
Getting close.
Second to last show of the year.
I think we should do one show where we don't act surprised at the number. Okay. Let's come in again.
Right.
Yeah.
Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah. Yeah. Lots to man. I'm excited about today. What a great get, Eric.
All I got to do is ask.
I know, but still, I had coffee with my sister this morning. Hence the nameless brew. But I was telling her, I was reading his resume, and she's just gobsmacked. Oh, here we go.
There's
There he
Ash.
is.
Oh, there we go. Excellent.
That was trippy. Hey, Ash.
How are you?
Great.
How you doing? Welcome.
Welcome. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for asking me.
How are things across the pond?
All right. Thank you. Yeah. Dark. It's dark outside, obviously. But yeah, pretty cool. Thanks. So yeah, you're on. Are you on coffee there, Eric?
Yes.
Well, I have a little bit of little bit of coffee liqueur in there, so I'm starting a little bit early today.
Yeah. COVID's kind of had that effect on everyone, isn't it? Sort of making people.
What are you drinking tonight?
That's just a Muscadet white wine.
Oh, nice.
Ooh.
Nice. So all the kids in bed?
Not quite.
No. Give them a little wine. Give them a little.
Almost. They're almost there.
So, Ash, welcome to Slappercast. This is our weekly podcast with the band Blaggards that I've just joined in January, but they've been around. Chad and Patty have been around for a long time here in Houston.
Fantastic. So, musically, what's the music you guys play? Sorry for my ignorance.
Please don't be. So we play. Chad and I founded this about 16 years ago. We call it stout Irish rock, and that's because when we started off in playing in the pubs, we were doing a lot of the Thin Lizzy and Pogues and
Fantastic.
yeah, that kind of stuff. So it's a 4-piece. We have fiddle, drums, guitar, bass, and and we all sing a little bit. We all. So
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's good fun.
And have you been over to Ireland?
Yeah,
I'm from Dublin. I'm from Killiney out in Dublin.
Fantastic. Have you played? Have you guys as a band played in? Have you?
Yeah. We do a tour every year. We bring a bunch of people with us every year, and we go to we travel the countryside. We do about 8 to 10 days, and great fun. What part of England are you in, Ash?
So I'm in Norfolk, which is East Coast.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
East
countryside.
Coast.
Yeah, not quite as country as parts of Ireland that I've been to, but pretty rural. There's not many people where the windmill's situated. There's not a lot around, so I can 2:00 in the morning I can play, and there's some sheep in that field over there, and that's about it. So it's pretty cool.
Brilliant. Yeah, I have a sister in Somerset. I've been meaning to get over for years, and I'm in trouble. So I haven't been to see her, but
when all this blows over, you've got to get there.
Oh, guaranteed. Yeah, my daughter just turned 17 yesterday, and she's pushing me. So
I'm sure.
So are obviously you're locked down, and you've been off the road now for a time.
Yeah. So this year, January, I did NAMM, and I did Zildjian live in January. And then I came back in February. I had 2 shows. I think I did 2 gigs in February. And at the middle of February, started doing a record with my old band, Amitri, Scottish band. And that was like a 2-week recording sort of blocked out. By the time we got to the end of that recording, it was like, now there's this thing happening. Everyone's got to go home, So, and that was it. So basically this year I did 2 shows really, and 1 sort of proper session at the beginning of the year. I have done a couple of sessions since in town, you know, one at Abbey Road and a couple with Trevor Horn. But luckily, this place has been keeping me busy. It's like, you know, I'm so thankful. If it wasn't for this place, I don't know. I don't know where I'll be at, you know, because like you all know, there's lots of my friends. I'm 51 now. And I know I don't look a year over 60. But, you know, a lot of my friends, younger guys that I know, they earn their money by being on the road, which is what I did. You know, up until about sort of 15, 20 years ago, my income was going on the road. And I can remember my dad, God bless him, saying, you'll be okay with music because whatever happens, you can always play. You can always find a pub, a club, out anything. You know, you can always do a gig because there's going to be people to watch it. No one ever thought in their wildest science fiction dreams that you're not going to be able to play in front of people. What the?
Yeah.
Like, it's insane.
You can say fuck if you want to, Ash. You can say fuck if you want to.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I mean, you know, just unbelievable. So there's a young drummer that I took under my wing about 10 years ago, and he called me. He plays with a guy called Niall Horan, who Irish guy that was in One Direction, and is kind of, you know, been quite successful around the world, and he was going to do a big tour this year. He called me, I think February, they were out in America doing the Late Show, you know, with, what's his name? The big TV show in New York. And he's like, I think they're going to cancel the gigs. And I'm like, really? He said, yeah, you know, this virus is looking weird. People are getting worried. And I said, well, you know, don't worry about it. Anyway, within days, he was flown home. That entire tour, which was going to be tens of thousands of pounds income for him, and the rest of the crew, band, everybody, obviously, and then he's not really done anything this year. Incredibly, that artist, what he did actually was he did a gig for his band and crew at the Albert Hall. He hired the Albert Hall out and did essentially a virtual gig, sold the tickets for whatever it was, 16 quid each. And they sold 120,000 tickets.
Holy shit.
And he paid, and he stuck to his word. He paid the band. I don't know if I even should say, but he paid the band and crew considerable amount of money each, which sort of made up for the loss of earnings this year, and saved some of those guys' asses.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, roadies and stuff, guys, we've got mortgages and literally no income whatsoever. And certainly in this country, the government has been pretty good with certain industries helping out, but self-employed road crew, musicians, it's like you're on your own.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So bless him, Niall. You know, whatever we think of him artistically and musically, you know, he's a straight kid, and he's helped that band and crew out significantly. You know,
that's class. That's
yeah,
could be
absolutely. You know.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah. And so the Amitri record, that's going to be ready.
Yeah. That's, well, again, so we were supposed to be putting that out this year, but now it's going to come out in the spring. There is one track available already on the record. And Justin, the singer, he is on absolute form, you know, the music, lyrically especially, you know, he's commenting on social and political aspects of what's going on in the world in the songs, and it's wrapped up in this little present, you know, this sort of musical present. But if you start digging in on the lyric, it's like, whoa, as always, you know, with some of the greatest, I consider him one of the greatest writers that I've worked with, actually.
Right.
You know, and he's a great singer, and he's got that thing, you know, that amazing thing where he can sing and he doesn't need auto-tune.
Weird.
And he can sing from the beginning of the song to the end, and it's okay. It's like, how does that work? Incredible.
You're getting into foreign territory now.
Yeah, but so that's all. We're looking forward to that, and obviously we're a bit older, and but interestingly, the audience is still there. Obviously, they've not gone away.
Yeah.
And in fact, the last shows that, Eric, the last shows we did last year, the audience, it was very interesting because it's the generation of people that were into the band in the beginning, and now they've had kids, and their teenage kids are at the gig.
Yeah,
it's bizarre. You look around the audience and you can see, there's mothers with their daughters and dads with their sons. So actually our audience has kind of grown.
Wow.
So hopefully, if the wind's in the right direction, next year when the record's released, we might have a chance of charting. Who knows?
Yeah,
I hope they do. They deserve it. They deserve it.
Yeah, next year is going to be crazy.
I think next year is going to be insanity when it's actually okay. If you think about it, and this is all I've said to young musicians to try and keep the vibe, is that I know it's shit, but at some point it's not going to be, and people are going to absolutely ceremoniously want to let their hair down. And there is going to be work, continual tours, management companies, record companies, artists are going to want to recoup the money that they've lost.
Yes.
Yeah.
People are going to be desperate to get out and socialize and actually go to events again and feel the euphoria that you feel when you're in a room listening to a band. I think it's when it actually kicks in, I think it's going to be fantastic, but we've just got to hang in there that we don't lose too many people along the way, literally lose them, but also just as far as the business is concerned, a lot of guys, I'm hearing things about guys, fantastic musicians driving, and delivering parcels and
Amazon.
like, what the fuck,
Yeah,
crazy.
I agree with you. I've said from the beginning it's going to be an avalanche of just like you said. I want to take that last clip that you because I was just so excited listening to you explain it. That's exactly what I envision when this.
I think it'll be bonkers. I think it's going to be insane. What's going to be interesting is actually trying to fit all the gigs in, because I know probably in the States it's the same as here. So people are moving gigs around all the time. There's so many artists. In fact, I did a recording. One of the only recordings I did when there's other people was like a couple of months ago. And one of the artists involved was like, I had dates in the spring, but it looks like my manager's put them back to the end of next year. But now the vaccine's come along, those dates will probably come forward again. And the venues in the UK and all over the world will be going like, fuck, we've got to try and fit all these bands in that did have gigs booked or are trying to get gigs booked. So it's just going to go from like everyone's sitting on their asses doing this to like, oh my God, it's insane. They won't be able to. That's the next thing. Hopefully, there'll be staff in these venues to actually deal with it.
Yeah. So if you could, and please let's jump in, Ash too. Before I get to, just keep an eye on the time because the three of us will keep you talking all day. We were talking before you came in. We were trying to get to through your resume, which is just beautiful to look at. It's just. But I have to ask, if you had to, so Amitri aside, if you had to anywhere in the world, any band in the world, if you could tour with somebody right now and just, obviously Amitri, that's the baby, but.
Well, it's a band that I was in, you probably know the history, but I was in the band when in my early 20s. I toured for about 2.5 years, mainly America, in fact.
Yeah.
With the Twisted album. Then we did another album, then I fell out quite well with the management, but didn't fall out with the band. And hence I'm back in the fold, from sort of 2014. But it's probably Kate Bush.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because she doesn't tour. And the last dates that she did, were in one place. She played Hammersmith Odeon in London, the Labatt's Apollo, it's called now, which is about a sort of 5,000 seat or something like that. And she did like 10 nights in succession.
Wow.
Yeah. And Omar Hakim, actually, you couldn't get a ticket for Love the Money. It's insane. And Omar Hakim played drums actually on that tour. I was very envious. But yeah, she, as an artist, she sort of sums up a lot for me. And I don't, I've met some famous people along the roads, like we all have, and the only time I ever got wobbly, I actually didn't meet her, but she was in a restaurant that I was eating in, and it fucking freaked me out. she was in a restaurant, the local Chinese restaurant near me where I lived in London, in Blackheath, and I was there with my girlfriend at the time, and I just couldn't believe it. I was like, Kate Bush is over there with her manager. I was like, oh my God. And it took all the will in the world for me not to get up and go over and just be on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And I didn't do it because I've seen that happen in front of my eyes with other people.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm not going to do that to her. She's eating,
Yeah.
some fucking idiot coming up to you while you're having your dinner, So I didn't do it. But musically, if I think about her catalogue of music, just great. I mean, just great songs.
Yeah. Well, 2 seconds ago, I was talking about the voices that you can't step in and do. That's another one. Kate Bush is another one. Her voice is we were talking about Christian McCall because we just did the Fairy Tale of New York. We did a cover, but we also
Kirsty. Did you say? Yeah. I met her in Belfast. I was playing with Squeeze in Belfast, and we were staying at the most bombed building in Europe, which is that hotel. What's it called?
The International Hotel.
That's it, and it's opposite the Horseshoe. Is it the Horseshoe or that pub?
Is it? It's not the Crown and the.
It might be the Crown. Anyway, I know that the pub across the road is fantastic.
Great little pub.
We were staying in that hotel, and incredibly so was she with her band. And Glenn from Squeeze, he's like an proper old school muso. So at any point, if it's possible, a guitar will be out and we'll be singing. And we were in the bar. Kirsty's there with her band. Glenn's like, hey, obviously they go back from whatever. And I just remember just sitting there and watching them just rattle off tune after tune, not their own tunes, other things like Beatles things and whatever. And what a night, incredible. And I feel very sort of blessed to have met her. And then I worked with Sinead O'Connor. I toured with Sinead, and Kirsty's brother was in the band. Callum McCall was in the band for a little while, and he's a talent as well. It's like, oh my God,
Wow, I had no idea. Yeah, Sinead O'Connor was just, through the roof vocal wise.
Another one, which is like, I feel so very lucky to have worked with her, and you hear all these stories. Some of these artists are difficult. Sinead was absolutely adorable. Yeah. I saw her. She wasn't adorable to some people. I saw that, but with the band, she was beautiful. And she's one of the only singers I've actually cried on stage, because of a performance. Being good, not bad. But she was. So the guitar player at the time was a guy called Robbie McIntosh who toured with Paul McCartney for about 7 or 8 years, and the dog knows. Yeah.
Dog knows. And dog's name is Ringo, so of course he knows.
Of course. So yeah, Robbie toured with McCartney for about sort of 7 or 8 years, and then he played with John Mayer. The Pretenders he played for and recorded for. Anyway, he's in the band, and man, what a musician, but a guy just fantastic. And my daughter had just been born, and there's a moment in the set where he just plays acoustic. It's her and him, and there's a track that she's got called Three Babies, and it's about her 3 kids. And Robbie starts this finger picking thing. I mean, the hairs are going now. I can't believe it, just thinking about it. And he starts playing this thing, and Sinead's, oh man. And I just remember being sat in my kit thinking about my own newly born child. And I just fucking started going, okay, come on, let's just try and get it together. I've got to play in a minute, you know. But yeah, she's the only properly moving, you know, real artist, like Kate, you know, like Kirsty, real deal, actual proper fucking thing, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and I can say that with absolute with vitriol, but also with an ounce of integrity, because I've worked with many singers. I've seen a lot of it, and I've seen singers that are just into it because of the fashion, are just into it. They're not into it because of the music. There's so many other reasons, especially pop music, why you would get into pop music, you know. And I've seen all of the reasons, but the ones that I gravitate towards the most are the ones like that are rounded, artistic, credible artists, really.
That's beautiful. I love to hear that. I love to hear that. Her version, she sings a song called Skibbereen, and she did it just, I want to say there may have been a slight keyboard in the background, but her voice just knocked me over on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't imagine being where you were, hearing what you heard and feeling what
just beautiful, you know. Yeah. Another Irish one, actually. I was lucky a few years ago to play at the Albert Hall with Van Morrison.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And I got warned by a couple of drummer friends of mine. Van doesn't really like drummers. he doesn't. We're always too noisy. We're too fast. We're too slow. We're just Drums is the thing that he focuses on of being a problem in a band. You know, it's never the second alto player. It'll always probably be the drummer. You know. And so I was preparing myself for a possible awkward moment with Van. And he didn't come to rehearsals. He just came to sound check. And we were playing, the first thing we were playing was Astral Weeks. And, you know, it was brushes. And I remember that his road manager said, you cannot play this quiet enough. So I was playing like the sort of, I don't know if you can see it here, but so the bell of the crash cymbal is like literally about that loud, and it's the fucking Albert Hall. It's like, hey, and he was like that. He goes, "That's great, that's it." And I'm like, I mean, I can fucking hardly hear that. Anyway, we start playing this thing. And we start, and we're just going round and round, and he comes out with his acoustic guitar, and it's like, okay, he's an absolute presence. I don't know if you've ever seen him or been in his presence, but it's like, oh my God, it's like I think he's the sort of guy you'd know who's in the room, even if you didn't know he's in the room. It's just like an exceptional sort of arrival of this guy. And I had a monitor right here. And he was I have to say, I said to the guy, I said, his guitar and his vocal in there as possibly as loud as possible, because I didn't want to miss anything, any cue from his hand or his voice. And when he opens his mouth, all is forgiven. You just go, okay. I mean, it's just so beautiful. It's amazing, you know. And we got through that tune, and then we did another one, and we did Midnight Special, and I sort of played it like a sort of Charlie Watts quite simple. And he turns around, walks over to the drums with his guitar, and I'm thinking, oh shit, here, this is the one. Yeah. This is the moment. And he goes, no, more bass drums. So I start going, boom, 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 bat. That's it. And he turns around and carries on. And that's all he said to me. And on the show, he was an absolute delight. A mate on fire, you know, brilliant show. And I saw one of the drummers that was a regular Van Morrison drummer, a guy called Neil Wilkinson. And he said, oh, how did that gig go with Van? Ready for me to say, oh, mate, it was... And I said, I'll be honest with you, Neil, it was fucking brilliant. And he went, you know what? I hope you never have to play with him again. because if you do play with him again, it's undoubtedly going to be shit. But, you know, it was a beautiful gig. He was a beautiful fella. And again, same as all those other people we've just been talking about, you know, undeniable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't imagine recording his vocal and saying, oh, you know, the second line of the verse, you're sort of a bit sharp. You know, it's just like, it's unbelievable. Just storytelling, fantastic sound, you know.
Yeah, he's where he is for a reason.
Yeah.
Just,
you know.
But I have to say your touch, I've just watched a bunch of your playing, and I'm just a schoolgirl. It's just, I'm telling you, we've always been lucky. Our band's always been lucky. We've always had good drummers. Yeah, and I've said it from the get-go. If your drummer's crap, the band just has to go away. There's no. Yeah. You don't have a product, and it doesn't. So, but just watching you, it's just, I could spend the whole day telling you how wonderful I think. But you're playing. I've always been a drummer. I've always been a fan of drummers. Drummers are drums are my favorite. I just can't sit down for long, so I can't play. But yeah, your technique, whatever you do and how you play, I see Eric. It's got a lot of that too. It's just so beautiful when a drummer can just can carry that song, can push that song, can bring that song to people. It's my hat's off to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, your resume it's not even starting yet. I love it.
Well, thank you, mate. And it's interesting you talk about songs, you know, because that's essentially, obviously, the people that I've just talked about are all singers, and that is actually where my heart is. You know, the whole, for me, Instagram and social media went a bit nuts because I started by posting a few videos of me just trying some ideas out, and it's now gone silly. And interestingly, some people, their introduction to me is me experimenting with something that's very sort of particular drum orientated thing. It's, you know, I mean, it is music, but it's not really where my heart is. So it's tricky for me to try and get some of that audience into thinking and knowing really where I come from. It's like songs are where it's at. You know, and all of my favorite drummers, you know, I mean, you mentioned Ringo there, God bless him. You know, one of my favorite things about, I saw a quote from him. Someone said, you know, how come you're sort of so well known for being one of the best song drummers in the world? And he said, I'd only do a drum fill when they stop singing.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's true.
I mean, absolute nugget of gold. Mm-hmm. I'd only do a drum fill when they stop singing. It's like amazing. But I mean, that's quite difficult to get that across to modern drummers. Like, yeah, you know that when you're doing those ridiculous fucking drum fills, there's somebody still doing something. It's kind of, I find it, you know, I'm with men of a certain generation. I find it sort of quite rude. It's like they're singing a fucking song.
Yeah,
it's not your bit.
Yeah, right. It's the curse of the next generation, and it sounds like we're a couple old men on our porch saying, you know, get off my lawn. But it's kind of one of these things where they just want to show how much they can play
Yeah.
over whatever the song is, whatever's going on. It's like halfway through the first verse, even before the first phrase ends, they're already filling into the next thing. It's just like, that's not, and I think the thing that really makes that a thing is that there's so many drummers that don't actually play with other people. They play in their basement or they play in their room or whatever. And are their chops excellent? I mean, there's some great chops players out there, but I doubt that they could get together with 2 or 3 or 4 other people and actually kind of hold it together and make something musical out of it. I think that's what's going on right now.
Yeah. Playing with people or certainly playing with the attitude that there are other people that you're with. You know, Steve Gadd says that great thing, and there's a thing on YouTube, and these young Italian drummers, they ask him what groove is, and it's absolutely captivating. They go, "So Steve, can you tell us what groove is?" And he's classic Steve Gadd self. He just goes, takes ages to answer it. He just goes, "Yeah, you know, I think," and it's like, please come on. And eventually he says, groove is an agreement with the rest of the musicians. So the drummer and the bass player agree that is where the downbeat is. And the guitar player goes, you know what? I'm feeling that too. I agree that is where the one is. And then if you get the whole band agreeing that, yes, this, that's it, then it starts grooving. And I thought, what an amazing way to describe it. It's an agreement. And straight away, as a musician, you can see why he's been so successful, because he's not talking about himself. He's talking about everybody. It's like, you know, it's like we're all in this thing. And he realizes how powerful that can be when everybody's in agreement. And that's why some bands, well, most bands, I guess, can sound so much better as a group rather than individuals in some way, you know.
Yeah.
You think about some of the greatest bands that have ever been, the lineup of that band make a thing, and it's like, and it feels a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And yet sometimes if you remove one of those musicians, it's not so good. You know, it's fascinating, the chemistry. You know.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you want an example of Ash's playing, of course, I'm kind of biased because I like his playing a lot, and I love Amitri. There's a song they did called "It Might As Well Be You."
Well, it's actually not me. That's
what?
not me on that. No, that's not me.
Oh
on
my
that
God! Delete this whole thing.
But I have played it. That is a great song drummer, a guy called Chris Sharrock.
I could have sworn it was you with that touch and that feel. So
he's copying Ash.
Well,
that's what he's doing.
Yeah. No, I had to copy him. Actually, when I went on that tour, I had to properly copy Chris's playing. But there will be a version of me somewhere playing it live, you know, for sure.
Yeah.
But I guess it's interesting, Chris being a Liverpudlian. You know, he's got that sort of natural sort of song approach. You know.
Anyway, Chris's performance is ridiculous. Yeah.
His playing on that entire record is absolutely brilliant. And Justin said, actually, the singer said about him, what's fantastic about Chris is that it's the vibe is the most important thing. He's capable of playing to a click and being a true session drummer, getting it right, not making mistakes when you do the third take, whatever. But the vibe is always present, because there's a lot of guys, session dudes, and it's one of the hardest things to do as I get older. When you're playing things, simpler things, trying to maintain the vibe is sometimes can be hard. You know, the energy of the song. Because you know, I've definitely seen it with some older session guys where they're like, yeah, whatever, you know, I can play this with my eyes closed. It's like, we all know that, but we don't want it to sound like you're playing it with thinking about when you're going to be eating dinner. We want you to be in the moment, you know. And Chris, every time he played, would be in the moment, and I think that's a special thing, you know. And I try and do that.
I was about to ask you that because, you know, looking at your resume with everyone that you played for, from Cher to Adele to Trevor to Rod Stewart, everyone else in between. Do you think that's why people call you, is because not only can you obviously play great, play to a click, but is it because you bring a vibe that they're looking for?
Well, this is, you know, as you know, one of the trade secrets is like, people go, why do producers pick certain guys? And, you know, Trevor Horn definitely didn't pick me because I've got the fastest double bass drums, or, you know, the guy that booked me to do multiple Cher records or whatever. He's not like, oh, you've got the best double strokes on the hi-hat, that's why I call you. You know, all of these people call me, I think, because of my approach to the song, like the stuff that we talked about already. It's like, and I remember Trevor, you know, I remember once he was talking about Seal, and he was talking about the vocal is at the top of the pyramid, and everything else must support that thing. And he was actually he was talking to somebody else about it, but I remember being sat in the room going, that's how I feel. And then immediately thought, well, that's probably why he likes me, because I feel the same as him. You know, it's about that. It's about the song. It's about the singer. Everything you play should be supportive of that person. And, you know, hey presto, when you do it, and certain singers, if you're lucky to play with certain singers and that appreciate that you are going softer maybe in the verses, and then you're giving them support when the chorus comes, and you're not doing too many fucking drum fills or too many crashes. Those singers, you know, some of them will go, I really like that guy's playing because I don't know why, but I like playing with him. And it'll be because their song can be delivered better. And I think that's the key, really. Is for playing for the song, and everybody says it. Everyone says it. Not many people do it. I'm thankful. That's why.
True.
That's why I should be retired, but I'm still fucking working.
There's no retirement for you. No, it's not.
Not allowed.
No.
I hope not. You know.
Yeah, no. Your passion just screams. It's even, you know, it's blaring. It's beautiful. It really.
Oh man. Well, yeah. Well, I am passionate about it, and as I get older, I feel now in my life I can say some of these things, and I'm allowed to, because I've definitely played with lots of singers, and I can. And there's a lot of things I can't talk about with any authority, but playing with singers and recording songs that are released, I can definitely talk about that with some kind of authority now. I'm 50. I've been playing drums since I was 10 years old. I'm 51. A lot of those years I've been playing with singers, you know. It's like, and then I did 7 years on The Voice, you know, and there was 1,000 singers that I backed on that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 1,000 people that sang.
Let's be clear about that.
Yeah.
Hey, but even you're playing on, you know, the Zildjian live thing, you know, when you're playing with a band like that with horns, you can still tell that you're kicking ass, but you're also supporting what everyone else is doing in such a great and musical way that it's just, and that I send it to the guys. I go, hey, watch this, check this out, and watch around minute 4 and 10 seconds, because that fucking breakdown you do is the most ridiculous thing I think I've seen all year, in a great way. That thing where you just and the people just went, holy shit, what was that? Patrick,
I did.
tell him.
So yeah, go on. I mean, but I didn't. I purposely. I wanted to make a statement about.
You did.
Drum events and about that thing that we've been talking about all night, really, which is like some guys and drummers, and I'm not knocking it. I'm really not knocking it. I think some of that energy is absolutely astounding that a lot of those guys bring. And I think on Zildjian, everybody's expecting the drummer to do that. And I thought, you know what, wouldn't it be really cool? I was, at 50 years old to do Zildjian live with guys that are a quarter of my age or whatever. Dennis was on it. He's older than me, just about. But do a musical statement that wasn't anti the chops, but just showed people an alternative view of what you can do, which is still exciting. I think that, Phil, and I'm glad you dug it, because that week before that, I'd never figured out what I was going to play. I just had this dialogue in my head. Play something with space, play something with space, play something, just kept on saying it to myself. And that's what came out. And if you look at me, you can tell even I don't fucking know what I'm playing. If you look at my face, I'm like, what? Yeah. I just know that I've got to leave a gap because it will feel intense, you know? And it definitely, it did the trick.
We all jumped in cold water at that moment, but the coolest part of it was not all our breath was gone. But Eric found it, and he said, watch this. So we watched the whole thing, and he's right in your break. But it goes to the crowd, and it shows everybody, and they all had the same look on my face. They all looked like they'd just been, prison raped or whatever it was. It was it was beautiful. It was just absolutely, yes, it was just so great, so wonderful.
Well, thanks. Well, I'm just glad that it came across right. It could have come across. It could have gone wrong. But I was talking to Stanton Moore, and some very amazing drummers. And Stanton especially, I was saying, I want to try and, because he's mature enough as a drummer to know what I'm talking about. Where, some of those drummers, I think Stuart Copeland's a master of it, actually. Just the timing of a thing, of a splash cymbal or a snare wallop. And it's just like, there's nothing before it or after it. It's just where it drops. And I just thought, wouldn't that be great? I've been given this opportunity in my, slightly older years to do something that a lot of people are going to see. Wouldn't it be great to not go figure out a fucking drum fill that's going to blow people's minds, which I could practice for a month before I did the show? Or do I do something that's spontaneous, but hopefully delivers some sort of passion? And I managed to connect with some people, and I'm happy about that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, man. Yeah, it was killer. And your clinic, Ash was kind enough to finally come to PASIC a couple of years ago.
Yeah, you've been asking me a while. Yeah,
about 3 or 4 years maybe, but you were busy. You were doing the voice.
I was doing the voice every time that PASIC I was in filming for the voice. Yeah.
And I think that every year I think of what to me was a highlight, not only for me but what I see the audience react to, because I'm checking in on stuff. I'm running around like a lunatic. And your clinic was definitely touched a lot of people in a good way. I mean, you were super sweet, and you were very in the moment too at that clinic, and it was just I think that was probably the highlight. Antonio Sanchez was pretty good too, but
I mean, he's a awesome musician. I mean,
oh my God, it's ridiculous. He played.
Yeah,
we hosted a drum set jam the night on Friday night, and Antonio played, and I had to get on. I was the MC, and I had to get on the microphone, and I had to say, "What the fuck was that?" Because he played so great. It was just ridiculous. But Ash's clinic for me, obviously wanting him to come for so many years and being a fan was definitely the highlight, I think, of NAMM 2019.
Well, mate, thank you so much. Thank you for that, and thank you for asking me and being so tenacious and not letting up.
Oh yeah, no. I really, I really try to make that thing great for not just the people that show up there, but also great for the artists that come too. So we were more than happy to have you, and actually we're more than happy to have you on this podcast too. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
well,
Yeah, man.
Pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice to do one that is a sort of drummy type Zoom podcast thing, but it's actually bigger. It's about bands and it's about music, and it's got, you know, it's not 4 drummers, you know. I mean that they're cool, but you know, I've done quite a few of them. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was getting ready for the show this morning. I went on your website to look at some of the more recent stuff that you played on, and the thing that jumped out at me immediately was the Red Planet with
with Rick.
Wakeman. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you listen to any of it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's astounding. I'd never listened to any of his solo stuff before, but I was like, so I didn't know what to expect. But it starts off kind of like early, like old Vangelis kind of stuff, and then the band comes in. I'm like, man, this is so cool.
Rick's astounding. I mean, you know, it's just ridiculous. And you know, he's on Hunky Dory, the Bowie record. You know that he's all over that. And he said, "Oh, that was just a session he did." You know, he was very much into what he was doing and the whole Yes thing and all that. But the way I started working with him, you know, the way gigs happen, you just never can tell. And I always say to people, you know, you never know who's going to be in the audience. So if I think about pubs, for instance, my actual very first gig first big break, I was playing in a pub in Greenwich, and the bass player from Massive Attack walked in, and he hired me for a guy called Tom Robinson, 2468 Motorway. I don't know if you know that tune.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he was looking for a young, cheap band, and I was young and cheap, and he hired me. So I got my first proper break from that. But getting back to Rick, his drummer, touch wood, he broke his arm.
Oh.
And there was a tour coming up, and he bust his arm. And Tony Fernandez, his name is. And the bass player in Rick's band I'd worked with before, and he phoned me and he said, "Look, Rick's got this tour, and Tony can't do it. Are you up for doing it?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, listen," he goes, "before you say yes, listen to the music, because it's very specific. Like, it's an interesting, you know, British prog rock music is pretty fucking mad. Like, so the first tune I listened to was like 20 minutes long. Journey to the Center of the Earth, it was called. And I'm like, I'm not going to I can't write this stuff out. You've got to learn it. These like epic fucking tunes. You know, you should think about a normal pop song's like 3, 4, 5 minutes maybe. The first tune in this guy's set is 20 minutes. And it's like, oh my God. So but anyway, I still said yes. I took it as a challenge. And the gigs were incredible. They were Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, Havana, Mexico City, supporting Asia, and then Leicester, which is a little town in the north of England. So it's not so glamorous. But I met Rick out in Cuba, and we played at. It was still like, this is like 17 years ago, something like that. So Cuba was still, it's pretty, like, not many musicians went. You know, you're not really allowed in, you know. And certainly Americans, I think it's very different now, but back then it's very difficult as an American to get into Cuba. And I met him there, met him at soundcheck, and he said to me that night, "Oh, by the way, we're making a DVD of the show." I'm like, "It's my first show." It's like, "Yeah, it'll be fine." And if you go on YouTube and look for Rick Wakeman Cuba, you'll see a much younger version of me.
Cool.
Like drum solo, the whole thing. You know, I did a drum solo which I hadn't done since I was 17 years old. He said, "Oh, you do a drum solo in this?" I was like, "How long's it got to be?" And he went, "Well, long enough for me to go to the dressing room and have a cup of tea." I was like, "Oh my God." So they all leave the stage. Rick goes and puts the kettle on and makes a tea. So as I'm doing this drum solo in front of 5,000 people, I'm thinking, right, he's put the tea bag in now. Okay, it's brewing. Adding the milk. Ridiculous.
Could you not just find an artist with a cocaine problem? I mean, that would come on.
haven't they all? But yes. So that was incredible working with Rick, and that was kind of it. His drummer got himself together and his arm fixed, and the show carried on without me. I just did one tour. Rick asked me to do a couple of other things, but I couldn't do it. And that was that until literally probably about 5 months ago. I just got a text from him out of the blue saying, I'm doing a record. And I'd love you to do it with me remotely. So yeah, I did it all. And the way we did it, he'd put sort of basic tracks down with keyboards, but to a click. And I came up with those parts, and then the rest of the band did their thing on it, and it shaped up how it shaped up.
That's amazing. Yeah, I was wondering how it came together. I didn't know it was that recently. Wow. Yeah, it was
pretty recent, so it's only just come out now. And some of it's really cool. He really enjoyed doing it, which is fab. But what I say to young drummers about, you never know who's going to be there, and you never know what's going to come from a particular gig. So Rick has got a tech, like a roadie, and the bass player in the band said, "Have you met Doom yet?" And I said, "Who's Doom?" They're like, "Oh, that's Rick's roadie." I said, "Why'd you call him Doom?" If he won the lottery, he'd be mildly sort of put out. Oh, okay. And I thought, God, this guy sounds interesting. Anyway, I met him. Stuart, his name is Stuart Sawney. And he was not like that at all. I was like, this guy's really fucking cool. But he's the only guy that could set up 25 keyboards, which Rick had. His rig was 25 keyboards. Old school keyboards.
Yeah.
Not, so all linked and like spaghetti Western, literally. And this guy was the only guy and he didn't actually, he goes, "Oh no, I don't like all this widdly bollocks." He goes, I sort of like, I like soul music. I was like, "Oh, who'd you like?" He goes, "Well, Aretha." I was like, "Wow, yeah, okay, cool." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I thought you might like some of that stuff." And he had all these amazing bootlegs of Aretha Franklin stuff. And we just would like talk about that. And he happened to say to me, "You should meet my mate Fraser." And I said, "Who's he?" He went, "Well, he used to play guitar for Rick, but he's a producer." I was like, "Oh, right." And he goes, "You've worked with James Morrison?" And I said, "Yeah, I have. Yeah, I've worked with James." He said, "Because Fraser, my mate Fraser works." He said, "My mate Fraser works with James Morrison." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. That's in small world, blah, blah, blah." He goes, "Yeah, you got to meet him. Anyway, Fraser wrote a song called Broken Strings, which is quite a big hit for James Morrison and Nelly Furtado that I played on, that another producer produced. And it started to come together. I was like, that's the Fraser he's talking about, the guy that wrote this #1 smash in Europe. And he kept on saying, "You got to meet Fraser, blah, blah, blah." And eventually this Fraser guy calls me to do a session. And eventually I did the session with him. We got on really well. We had this mutual friend, which is Rick Wakeman's fucking keyboard tech. But Fraser's the guy that wrote Set Fire to the Rain for Adele. And I played on that song. So it was from Rick Wakeman's roadie that I eventually ended up playing on one of the biggest records the world's ever seen. And if you think about it, that, as some people go, "I'm not playing for fucking Rick Wakeman. Fuck that old fucking stuffed up English bloody prog rock. Fuck that." Yeah. It's like I wouldn't have met that guy who eventually the planets aligned and I played on that tune. I mean, you can't think of Adele and Yes. I mean, you can't get much further away, really. But they're connected.
Yeah. Is that the biggest record you've ever played on?
I think that Adele is I think that 21 is one of the biggest records ever
sold.
And it's probably probably the biggest song I've ever played on. Yeah.
And Rod Stewart, did you tour with him, or is that?
No, I've never. No, I played on his album, which was #1 this time last year, that Trev did. Me and Steve Ferroni shared the drum seat, which is quite nice to share it with such a monstrous drummer. Yeah, Rod, amazing. Again, another one.
Yeah.
This thing's still totally working. But he's had the same drummer for about 30 odd years, a guy called Dave Palmer, who was in a band called The back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And he used to, when he was in England, he lives in Los Angeles now, Dave. He's been there a long time, actually. But when he lived in England, he played on, is it Lexicon of Love? Heaven 17.
Yes, yeah. I would never have the name. Yes, I know that.
Yeah, and so he was quite a prolific session guy in London in the 80s. Dave was, and he worked with Trevor quite a bit. There and loads of other people. And I actually met Dave in 1995. Adele and Amitri were playing in Los Angeles, and the tour manager, knew the crew from Rod Stewart, and we were staying at the Hyatt, which was opposite the House of Blues on Sunset. I don't know if it's there. I don't think it's there anymore. But we were outside, and this convertible Golf comes screaming down Sunset, and this guy goes, "Oh yeah!" Shout, and it's. I said, "Who the hell's that?" And he goes, "Oh, that's Potty Palmer." He said, "That's Dave Palmer." I said, "What's he do?" He goes, "He plays drums with Rod." It's like, wow. Anyway, within a couple of days, they were playing at the Hollywood Bowl, and we went to watch them, and I met Rod and everything. Priscilla Presley was there backstage. I remember thinking, this is fucking mental. And I met Dave then, and that would have been 1995, and we've sort of kept in contact ever since. And so he's Rod's guy, and I don't think Rod will ever change it,
Yeah.
But you see, people go, "Well, how come you never toured with them?" Which happens quite often. It's because producers book the bands and book the guys that they want to play on the records. That's how it works.
Yeah.
So I get to play on some amazing things, but I often don't play with them live. Adele actually was at the session that we did, which is unusual for pop artists to turn up at the gig,
really?
At the session. Like there's an Irish singer who I won't name, but I've done 5 albums with him, and I've never seen him at a session.
Not Bob Geldof.
Oh no, not Bob. No.
Okay.
Bit younger. I'm not.
Yes.
I don't understand that. That's crazy. I don't,
5 fucking albums I've done with this guy, and I've met him, but not in the studio.
Yeah.
And he's probably utterly unaware that I've played on that amount of music. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Wow. What about a book? Have you got one? Have you got notes to put this together?
I've definitely got one, but we wouldn't get legal clearance. There's no way. Honestly, there's a mate of mine that's a publisher, and he's got a fantastic bookshop actually. And we were talking one night, and I told him some of the things that I've seen and heard over the years, and he went, "Oh my God."
You can't, and you can't change the names enough to make it.
Well, what we talked about it seriously, quite seriously, and he said it could be a work of fiction.
Yeah.
So that's still a possibility that it would just be like a joke kind of fiction book, but actually, fuck me, that's an actual story.
Yeah.
But
I'd read it.
That's a way around it. But I don't know. I mean, I sometimes, I've seen some of these books where people kind of talk about their careers and all, and I just think, I don't know. It's sort of like goes against the sort of rock and roll code of like,
Yeah.
you know, yeah. I mean, amazing things. I remember being in a dressing room with, I toured with Marianne Faithfull, and Anita Pallenberg. I was making a cup of tea in the dressing room, and Marianne and Anita came into the dressing room. They're like two little schoolgirls talking about stuff. And some of the stuff I heard, I'm like, I shouldn't be listening. I shouldn't be privy to this information. They talked about some of the stuff that happened in the old days, and I'm like, I shouldn't be listening to this. Incredible, you know.
Wow.
You can tell that
you know,
you can tell that we're all men of a certain age because every name you bring up, we're like, oh yeah, we know who that is.
Yeah. But I don't know. I guess there are some books on there out there, and people have sort of told all.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But I mean, I also think that, like, you know, really, I'm very thankful for my career. But if you look at it in the big picture, you know, someone like Steve Gadd or Vinnie Colaiuta or someone, I mean, like, it's my career is a drop in the ocean compared to some of those guys, you know. So why should I even think about, you know, documenting it? Because there's other guys that have truly worked with some of the biggest artists on earth, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
I love your story because it's just such just people that, like you said, they're people that just you shouldn't be able to tie them together. They shouldn't be a line, but there's a line, and it's a small one. It's
yeah. Well, what's that? Yeah. What's that thing about
5 degrees of separation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I really do think there's some truth in that.
I believe it. I believe it. And the only reason why your story is different is because you have these massive personalities, but they're just in different, in different spots,
Yeah.
And there's things, but and you're so embedded in your craft. You're such a and I'm lucky too, because Chad and Eric are like yourself. They're 100%. They seem to be so much deeper into music than I am, and and I'm supposed to be the one that's trying to sell this thing in on the front, because I do this, the yapping. But it's such a delight to meet, to talk to you with this history and this love of it, and when your heart's in it like that, you can't fake that. And that's what a drummer brings. That has a story to tell.
Yeah, well, I think, and I think that's it. It's like I'm not really unique. There's many people like us, really. Like most true musicians. It doesn't matter if you're in the Rolling Stones or you just play a couple of times a month. If it's in there, that's all that actually matters. And there are so many people like that around the world. I mean, this is why we could probably go on until our batteries fail. It's because we are like kindred spirits. It's like all musicians are, and especially when it's interesting when you meet a musician that doesn't speak English. You don't have to say anything, because it's like, well, all of our history's pretty much shared. That he's done some fucking terrible gigs, and has had a crap car. His girlfriend's probably left him because of his fucking music. It's the same old shit with everyone, and it's like it's repeated, and I think there's probably a reason. We are all the same. There's a muso. I don't know if you know. Do you know Terry Reid?
No.
Well, you should check him out. It's Terry Reid. Yeah, Eric knows him. So Terry, I'm absolutely, again, another one. I'm so thankful that I've managed to work with him. He lives in Palm Springs now. He moved to America years ago, but he's a British rock and roll singer, and he most famously was the guy that got asked by Jimmy Page to sing for Led Zeppelin.
Oh,
but
wow.
he was on tour with the Stones. He was supporting the Rolling Stones in America, And Jimmy wired him or phoned him and said, I'm putting this band together. I want you to be the singer. And Terry said, I can't do it. I'm supporting the Stones. I'm supporting the Rolling Stones. But he goes, I tell you what you should do. He goes, phone my mum, because my mate Robert is sleeping on her couch and he's not a bad singer. And right, honestly, check this out, right? And he goes, oh, and he's got a mate who plays drums. He's not bad. Right. And I'm thinking, so he's telling me the story. I've known him now nearly, I don't know, it's got to be nearly 20 years now. And when he told me that story, I'm like, he's a raconteur. When you look him up, you'll go, okay.
Yeah.
You won't know him, but you know him, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
It's like,
oh yeah. That person.
He's got the personality, the character, everything about the storytelling, the sound, the fucking fantastic voice. Hence, Jimmy Page was like, this would be the great guy for this fucking band. But he said, phone my mum, because my mate Robert is sleeping on her couch. Anyway, he tells his story. It's a fantastic story, right? Wow. And he's told the audience a couple of times on gigs. And he's an interesting character. You think, is this bullshit? Is it true? Is it slightly bent truth to make it sound a bit more interesting? Anyway, I happened to be in a scenario where my mate was playing drums for Robert Plant. And he said, do you want to come to the show? I said, yeah. So I'll go to the show. Backstage, Robert Plant comes out, and my mate Marco, who's playing drums for him, goes, Robert, come and meet Ash. He plays for Terry Reid. So Robert Plant comes over to me, he shakes my hand, and he just goes, that guy should have had my life. And I'm like, wow. Mm-hmm. And I said, Robert, Terry tells his story about, and it's the one that I've just told you, about, you sleeping on Terry's mum's couch. And he went, that's absolutely true. I was like, oh my God. So this guy who he's a pirate basically, Terry. You just get, is this a yarn or is it reality? Absolute fucking reality. He said, yeah, I was sleeping on Terry's mum's couch when Jimmy called me.
God, amazing.
And that's it. That's Led Zeppelin right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's insanity. And so Terry tells that story, and then this is where I feel sometimes that I do feel very privileged that I'm in a situation where I'm talking to Robert Plant about a story, and he's confirmed it. And I was there. There were people with me that witnessed it all, and it's like, wow, how privileged am I to be part of that little thing? I mean, I'm only observing it. I'm not in it, but I'm observing that thing and going, wow, I'm so lucky, to have seen that and witnessed that. So then Terry tells me, so now everything that guy says, I'm like, it's the absolute God's truth. So when I lived in London, I lived near the King's Road. And there's a pub there called the Chelsea Potter. And it's still there. And Terry said, one night we were in the Chelsea Potter. He goes, me and Jimmy. And I said, what, Jimmy Page? He went, no, Jimi Hendrix. I was like, okay. And he goes, yeah, we're in the Chelsea Potter. And he goes, we're waiting for John. And I'm thinking, okay, which John's he on about? And he goes, and this Japanese bird comes in, and she sees Jimmy. She said, have you seen John? And he goes, who are you? And it was Yoko.
Wow. Yeah.
And they were waiting for John Lennon. And so if he told me that story off the bat, you'd go, that cannot be true.
Yes.
You're in a pub with fucking Jimi Hendrix and Yoko Ono comes in looking for John Lennon. I mean, it's a great joke. It's a fucking great start to a gag. But because already he told me that also almost unbelievable story about Jimmy Page that I'm thinking this has got to be the truth.
Yeah.
So and it's incredible. And so Marianne knew him, and I've spoken to Marianne about Terry, and she's just like, he was in the absolute hub in the 60s. He was in the hub of music. So you should check this record out, and the listeners, watchers. It's called River by Terry Reid, and it's one of the greatest records, really, for that style of rock and roll, soul, 70s, just fantastic sound. And there's some great. He did Woodstock, Terry.
No kidding.
And he had, and there's footage of him playing, and he's got Alan White on drums from Yes. And there's some great footage of this. Just check him out. I mean, he's outrageous, and he's still around. And he messaged me the other day, and we were supposed to be playing Ronnie Scott's this year, but it didn't happen, of course. And we were supposed to do a blues cruise with Joe Bonamassa, and that didn't happen, of course. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But he's the real deal, Terry. He's a rough diamond, but it's awesome. Absolute real deal.
Very cool.
Yeah,
there'll be some very extensive show notes in this episode. I'm going to find links for all this stuff.
Well, yeah, if you do links, check them out. Terry, he's a. What's most impressive about him is that he's not bitter about the way it's like. When I said, have you heard of Terry Reid? Only Eric said that you'd heard of him, and you think about his history. He could look back on it and go, why am I not as famous as Jimmy Page, and why am I not this and that? I mean, he was opening for the Stones when he was 17 years old, I think he was. I think his dad had to sign the contract.
That's insane.
Seriously, he wasn't. He was a minor. He couldn't sign the fucking contract to go on the tour with Stones.
Yeah.
Wow. Incredible.
Don't need that. Fresh coffee.
Fresh coffee, no swearing.
Rapid fire. So, Amitri, new record comes out. You think, and of course, this stuff is going to be lifted. We're going to be back in the clear, blah, blah, blah. Amitri, you coming over?
Well, what's interesting is that when we last toured, everyone was expecting, because America actually is their most successful territory.
Yeah.
So it's surprising we haven't been back. But, I mean, maybe there will be some offers, yeah. I hope so. I really enjoyed. I feel very privileged that I toured America. I've done every state except for Hawaii and Alaska.
This tour.
Yeah, we used to just go round and round and round and round.
Yeah.
Just do it again, and it paid off from there. The top 10 with "Roll to Me," and that was visiting radio stations. Every time you go to Wisconsin, you play the same fucking radio station. Go in and do an acoustic thing when you're absolutely hungover from the night before. It's hard. It was hard work, but it paid off. Yeah. And so yes, I hope so.
If you weren't playing drums, what's your music? What would you do? Any instrument, sing? What instrument?
I think vocal, actually.
Yeah.
Could you just to back up everything I've said. I think to have your own sound that is immediately recognizable is like everyone tries to do that on their instrument, and it can be hard.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it's probably one of the hardest things is to sound like instantly recognizable as you on an instrument. But to have that as a singer would be just so amazing. I think they come along. We were talking to Trevor Horn actually about rods, and he was talking about the voice. And I wasn't joking about 1,000 singers. In my 7 years, we totted it up. It's just over 1,000 singers that I'd heard in 7 years.
Yeah.
And Trevor was saying, how many would you go, fucking hell? And I went, oh God, now you got me. Yeah, like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And then the conversation expanded. And I said, what do you think, Trevor? Because I was another producer I was talking to, and it's like maybe once every 10 years, a unique sound will come along.
Yeah.
Adele. I don't know what the next one is that we're looking at. You know, it's, if you think about it, a Van Morrison, a Rod Stewart, a Seal, a Cher, or whatever, you know, obviously these the people I've worked with, but you know, that unique sound. And Trevor said that, he goes, I actually think it's longer than that. He goes, it's like one or two a generation that really come through, and you go, like Bob Dylan or someone. It's like they don't come around every fucking week then.
Nope.
So to be able to do that anywhere near as good as any of them would be awesome, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then to be a diva would be brilliant.
Yeah.
To give
Always
the
a
drummer
plus.
shit. Just to shout
Yes.
at the so fucking slow.
Ash, we cannot thank you enough for your time. I just I want to do another 2 hours. I want to stay up all night. But I also, I'd love to do this again, because you're stained now. We know where you are, and I want to send you some music. We got a record coming out, and I want you to hear Eric
Well, yeah, I'd love to hear that.
We'll send you some stuff. It's very tongue in cheek. It's very fun. Nothing's slow. Nothing. And it's just Eric's. Like I said, we just got him in January, and then we shut him down in essentially.
So have you done any sort of anything? Have you done rehearsals, socially distanced rehearsals? Yeah.
We do that with the three
masks
of us. The three of us get together and we'll play, and we're all quarantined. I mean, we're staying, with our families and whatnot. So we've all been tested and blah blah blah. And of course the vaccine started this week, so fingers crossed that. So we're doing that, but we're also when we snuck out too. I talked the two of them into. I'm the demon, but I talked them into getting in the van. We'll go play acoustic, but we'll bring our electric instruments, and we'll go and we'll play in these places. And so we did it. And we usually a 4-piece, but we went up as a 3-piece, and we had a ball. We just played 5 nights. We did 10,000 miles and just played every night. It was a blast. But we were going stir crazy. And we had to get up and get out, and it was a joy. But at the same time, we're knowing that you can't. It was our first time going out, knowing that I call the club and I say we're not going to be coming in and licking the doorknobs and hugging the staff, and they were all great. Everybody worked very hard to do the social distance thing and whatnot. But it was fun to get out. It was and we're so out of shape from not doing this every night. We played a lot of shows.
You sort of get that sort of gig fitness. I remember when I went out with Amitri, because when I was doing The Voice, I'd play, even if I was playing hard, it's just for 3 minutes, and then we'd stop and listen to, Jennifer Hudson or whatever talk for 20 minutes, and then play another song. So to go out with Amitri and play, and the singer's not really massively talkative, so you finish a tune and he's turning around and going, okay, count the next one. And it's like, hang on a minute, oh my God. So I know what you mean. It's physically, well, for all it doesn't. It's not just drums. I think for everybody, it's like mentally and physically quite knackering doing gigs. And like you say, if you're not doing it every night and you're out of shape, it is a shock to the system.
You feel it for sure.
Yeah. Well, listen, I wish you the best of luck with that, and I can't wait to hear. I already know what Eric sounds like from looking at his drums.
Fair enough. That's a fair assessment.
In a way, and it's interesting, isn't it?
It is. This band affords me a little bit of opportunity to kind of stretch a little bit. So I do play a little bit more. Not as many fills as your Instagram drummers do, but I am allowed to kind of push the envelope a little bit when it comes to
I tell you what,
the rock.
I hope I can get out and see you play and actually, have a pint of Guinness somewhere.
Listen, like I say, you're staying now. We know where you are, and we're I can't thank you enough for your time and for letting us, yap with you, and
it's absolute pleasure.
Yeah, you're a gem. We Eric has been talking you up, and we've just been, and it's been everything and more. I can't thank you enough.
Well, thanks for having me, and it's actually really nice talking about music and not just what drum heads do you use? It's kind of it's kind of cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, and also to be fair, talking to guys that are that I can mention some names and you do know who they are. I mean, that's also quite nice. So I'm thankful for that. I mentioned Sinéad O'Connor to my kids, and it's just like, of course, like why?
Yeah.
They're talking about my daughter's talking about Billie Eilish tonight. Which is interesting. That's an interesting. I like her. I mean, sort of like anti pop star.
Right.
Brilliant. Yeah. That's the next episode.
Yeah. We'll work on the book too.
Cool, guys.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ash. You're a gentle
pleasure.
Star. Thank you.
Good luck with it, and send me the links to it. I'd love to see it and see if people actually enjoyed anything I said.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Thanks, Ash.
Our pleasure. Have a good day, you guys.
All right.
I'm gonna have a glass of wine and go to bed now, probably in a bit. That's wrong that
Perfect.
time. That's just stuck on midnight.
I didn't even notice it till done.
Take it easy.
Thank
All right,
you so much.
great meeting you.
All right. Thanks,
Take
Ash.
care.
What a gem! Oh my God! What a
There we go.
can we just bring him in every week?
Yeah.
He's the bee's knees. I mean, it's like, I'm not saying that we're like each other, but definitely he and I have the same mindset when it comes to songs. It's more about playing the song rather than trying to be all choppy or trying to be something more than what you're not.
Yeah,
it's always better to service the vocal and support the band than to be the showboat. That's not the drummer's job unless you're fucking Buddy Rich or whoever.
Yeah.
Keith Moon.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did notice that. I noticed that your approach to that too. It's and of course Mike was like that too. Very, very. It was easy to get that phrase out because you're not worried about that. That massive Nico 19 tom. Roll through your.
Right.
But what a gentleman! What an absolute. Just pushing through the screen, just blowing up in the room here. Every single word and the stories and just every week. I just want to talk. I just call him now. Hey, are you up? Hey,
Yeah.
Hey, what are you doing? Yeah.
So what we were talking about beforehand, and I'm surprised I remembered. So Jason, you had sent us the video for the Every Day is Christmas song. And I thought it was great. I thought it was just a lot of energy and, one or two costume changes and just really, really good. I was my hat's off to you two because it was, I don't like doing videos. I don't like being in front of a camera like that and stuff like that. But you two were great. I saw the stuff. It was just really fun.
Yeah. Eric set the tone pretty quick. I looked over and just saw how silly he was being. I was like, okay. That's what we're doing. And watching it was. I said I was joking before we did it. It's like this is going to be like the early Police videos where they're not playing instead, they're just jumping around and acting like idiots and having a fun time. That's kind of what this was.
Yeah, it was fun. I just figured let's just be goofy because song is tongue in cheek. The song is funny. It's Christmas time. We're supposed to have fun ananyway. Yeah, so let's all have fun. It was great.
It was perfect. And I think Patrick and I were talking about this last night that we're already talking about what the next one we're going to do and how we're going to pull it off. I just think it's vitally important, especially now that we're putting out new material because people right now, especially, you can't go see us play unless you're lucky enough to be in the area wherever we have a show. Right. But to be able to convey our personalities in that way, it's a lot different than even the show is seeing us goofing around and just being ourselves. I think is a really good thing. So I'm looking forward to the next one we do.
Yeah, just very, very fun. And just Brian Reeves and Ellen, Kelly, a few others had emailed Greg Fugate and John Wiesenfeld. Trying to my sister, a bunch of people that have seen the video, a bunch of our Patreon people have seen the video. The response was great, and it was nice of them to not liked it, and that's cool too. But it's just a lot of them went real deep into it, and they said very funny with the costume changes, the goofy, the blah blah blah.
Right.
Very,
Yeah.
I mean, just great feedback, and just we're always grateful to everybody, especially our Patreon crew, and just so it drops. So today is Tuesday, and which means is going to already be out. So hopefully you've all seen it. If you've not seen it, maybe Chad will be good enough to put it in the.
I'll make it very easy to find. Yes.
Yes, you will. But before I forget, I want to put a little Christmas bow on the Ash Soan segment. I want to get him back on the show. And if Amitri come to the States, I'm going to follow them around in a van. I'm going to or on foot if they're slow drivers. I can't wait to look it up. I can't wait to look up their catalog and what, I'm only interested in the stuff that Ash played on though. So
yeah.
So I forwarded to Chad, but there's a live record from 2014 that is basically like them doing like their greatest hits live, and it's
nice. That's what
all the way on that one. And then the newest single is something about England, like look to England or something. Turn your eyes to England or something like that. And I think it's definitely a pandemic kind of song. It doesn't really come out and say it, but I think that's what it is.
Well, that's what
I and that's off the new record, which has been released, I think, on iTunes and Spotify and everywhere else. And the whole record comes out, I think, in April. The new record comes out in April. Yeah, April 2021. So
just even and I know it's not because I've heard them before. And just harmony's beautiful, and the textures and the great instrumentation. But I'm telling you, his playing. For those that haven't seen us in a while, we play a song by Shane MacGowan called "Rock and Roll Paddy," and Eric starts the beat now. We changed it up. We kind of gave Eric a live version of how we used to play it, and Eric slowed it down a little bit, but you put a little extra C Hughes maybe on the back, a little je ne sais quoi, a little
je ne sais Hughes.
Yeah, and it's one of those moments like when Ash was showing us the Van Morrison piece on the bell of the cymbal. And again, the hair on my arm stood up because I think I'm a closet drummer. I don't want to say that too loud. I don't want to get beat up. But the technique, I'm big on technique. Eric and I, we share this hatred of these videos of, oh, look at this 12-year-old boy playing rock and roll by Led Zeppelin. I don't want to hear that. I don't care. You're playing it in a room. You're in a basement. If you're an amputee, I'll watch it. If you're underwater and you've got, you're got a straitjacket on, I'll watch that video. But I'm not going to watch. I don't care. I want to see a band, and I want to see, that video. Maybe Chad, maybe we could put that video in again. That video we were talking about with Ash. Oh yeah. That's going. Yeah, because I mean,
the Zildjian video. Yeah,
the Zildjian. Thank you. I'm tongue-tied, but that moment when they pan the audience and everybody's got my face on. It was. I mean,
it is funny that we brought that up, and he had a whole lot to talk about that moment too. And that was one 5-second moment in a 7-minute video.
That you saw because I'm telling you, because you're connected that way. It's just beautiful. I mean, and for that guy to have been on stage with Van Morrison and to been, to play for Adele and to do this. I mean, and then he's asking us questions. You don't have questions. You just we do, just a brilliant, just a massive talent. I mean,
he's a sweetheart. Yeah.
He's got to do a book. He's got to figure out a way. That's so funny you said that. He's like, actually, there's a story behind that too, that he actually has been trying to figure out how to do it. Oh man.
Well, it's like our good friend Doug Stanhope would say. No, I mean it's a massive undertaking, and they don't realize until they're too far in to turn back, because you've already so much invested and you've got so it's I just couldn't. I mean, the stories are wonderful, and I tell you something. His stories and his direction. He's one of those people that's just there. If you ask him a question, he's not only gonna give you an answer, but he'll point the way too. He'll give you, he'll show you how to get there. Mm-hmm. He's not one of the, because I remember Eddie Van Halen in the early days, he would turn his back to the audience because he didn't want them to see his technique, because then everybody's going to start, and they did. But then he, once it was out there, he said, well, I'm still the best.
Yeah.
Well, that's the funny thing about drummers too, that I've noticed, and not because I'm a drummer, because just whatever, but like a lot of drummers are happy to share their knowledge with other drummers. They're just like, oh yeah, it goes like this, because they know they're going to figure it out anyway. But why not? If someone's interested enough in what you do, just share it with them, because it'll make them, think of you on another level, and it, just makes you a more interesting and a better person, I think.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, and there's a ton of great guitar players that that do the same, bass players and whatnot. Oh, I can't. Oh, the Mighty Orc here in Houston, just a phenomenal talent, and one of those guys that will he'd probably even give you his guitar rig, just take it, just figure it out, or he'd show you, but he's so generous. He's so he's such a But the people that I've always found the least helpful have been the singers. The singers with the with the mic stand, and I'm carrying a mic stand into the club, and that's I'm not going to help with the gear. I'm
right.
My instrument's here. You guys go get them.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that I've had the biggest. Like, hey, how do you keep your stamina? How do you stay in blah, blah.
How do you affix all those scarves to your mic stand like that?
They just stick because they're nasty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've witnessed arguments with, I'm not going to name, close friends of mine who had trouble with their lead singer, and I love all of them, but it's like that one guy was like, nah, I'm not doing it. I'm not carrying gear. I'm the singer. And they this sparked so many arguments in the band because of that one thing.
Yeah.
They just would not.
I'm carrying my microphone. That's my gear. No, the PA is your gear.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
It's not like cleaning up your room. That's my room. I'll clean up. You clean up your room. No. This is a group project. Yeah.
No, this is the kitchen. Everybody cleans the kitchen. Mother.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, cool, man. We've got 2 hours to work with here.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Just in time for the holidays.
Yeah.
No, this is going to be great fun. I may trim some of this out. I'll probably just give Patreon the entire unedited thing, so they can can sit through it.
I thought we were supposed to like our patrons.
Right. No, I mean, this is mostly Ash.
Here you go. You guys just throw out what you don't need. But spectacular. Ash is beyond a superstar. I mean, that guy is beyond what rock and roll is. He has more of it. What's that?
He wrote and he said, "Thank you, mate. Hope I came across okay."
Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write back, dude.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. But just we'll get that. We're gonna have final mixes here pretty soon of the. I mean, Paul's just working his ass off over there, and he's doing great. So, but I want to send him or Eric, you send him we'll send him a link to this new record. I think he'll get a kick out of it. I really do.
Yeah.
But like I say, Amitri comes over here.
We gotta go.
Yeah.
Gotta go. Yeah.
Hell, I'll go sell the tickets for them. I can't. I just can't wait to play.
We'll sell T-shirts or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which Amitri record would you recommend?
The live one, right?
I think the live one is it's only 6 years old, but it shows it's a great kind of a encapsulation of what that band.
Oh, that's the one you sent me.
Yeah, I think the studio stuff is great, and it's well produced, but I think the live stuff puts you right in the spot where there's 5 guys on stage and they're killing it. They're just killing it, and I mean the very first song is just like guitar and cowbell. Dun, 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 and the crowd goes, wah! And the audience is super into it. It's recorded over in England somewhere or the UK somewhere, I think.
Right.
But yeah, and like I think I pointed you all to the greatest hits record, but I mean this is basically like a live greatest hits record, and it's them just from 6 years ago. So get that one.
Cool.
And it's called. Let me get the title of it here real quick. We can share it with our people. Into the Mirror. Into the Mirror, Adele Amitri live in concert from 2014. It's got, oh my God, it's got 23 tracks on it.
Whoa. Nice. Double album.
All the hits.
That's nearly double our record. We need to get to work.
Hey.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'll have extensive show notes and links and stuff down below in the description or in the show notes of your favorite podcast app. It'll be there. Or on the website. Go to blaggards.com. Yeah, before we wrap it up, I just want to thank Jason, you again for working so hard on this video this week. I mean, not only did he kind of help us figure out, because we had no idea what we're doing, and he kind of helped us, piece things together, and he put it together very quickly, but also with a lot of consideration. And he a lot of cuts. He went and found like the best little moments of all the silly stuff we were doing, and yeah,
that
so
scene,
I really appreciate him.
That scene where you come through the door, Chad, I fucking lost. I laughed.
I love your shot where you're taking your glasses off.
Yeah,
that was that's great.
Yeah.
Also, Seb, I was talking about this with Patrick last night when you were on the guitar and you didn't really know the words, and Patrick kept looking at you going, "Huh? Where's?"
I knew most of the words.
Yeah. Please, folks, go and share that. We want to get as many people, as many eyes on this video as we can, as many ears on the song. So, and there's a lot more coming.
Yeah, thank you all for listening, and just like we say many times, our online store is open 24 hours a day now, 7 days. But yeah, thanks for listening, and and to piggyback on what Chad said, Jason, you killed it. And it's a pleasure to work with. And also he was very sick for a while, and he's back, and he's large charge, man. He's not taking no for an answer. That guy's he's a fighter, and he's like we not only a pleasure to work with, but we consider him a friend. We really thank him.
Yeah, he's a hard working guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Don't go changing.
See you on the flip side.
Merry Crimbo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rock.